Hello, I'm Ryan Shillington, CTO and co-founder of QbDVision. I'm the Steve Wozniak of the organization and the most likely to wear a suit that's way too loud, and I think that's the best joke we can come up with. Today we're on a journey to tell you what we think about where the industry is headed, where digital CMC is going. And this isn't about really presenting a roadmap, at least in my opinion. This is about presenting the vision, the future of digital CMC, where we think the entire industry is going. So for that, we've got a speaker. Hang on here. There we go. Over the past 30 years, computers and the internet have impacted our lives tremendously. I mean, you can't be retired today without a computer and the internet. And we feel that, honestly, we feel that AI is equally transformative. And it'll be part of your everyday. It's going to impact everything and everybody around you. I've been working closely with technology for 40 years, which really dates me, I know. But I have never seen a technology move as fast as this. So the speed of which this is moving is crazy. And so on the left side, oh, sorry. Okay. There we go. On the left side over here, you see OpenAI and their claims about, I mean, it's OpenAI's claims, but these models are approaching or moving past PhD level knowledge in the field, right? Of pretty much any field that you're looking at. And on the right, you can see how Google is showing that their models are outperforming doctors when it comes to differential diagnosis. And so the speed and the abilities of which these models are capable is astounding. And so we're in a mode now where we're like, wow, it's wrong. I got the wrong answer once, and that's exciting to us, right? That's a proof point that we're not quite there yet. But some of you might say this is a lie, right? Ryan, it's a lie because it's not the future. It's actually today. This is what you're showing me is actually what's happening right now. My favorite stat on AI is that when Pew Research Group goes out into a shopping mall and asks people, are you using AI today? 36% of people say yes. So approximately a third of the population says, yes, I am using AI. And when you ask them, oh, are you using Alexa? Do you use Gmail? How about, do you shop on Amazon? Do you use social media? Do you check the weather, et cetera? Turns out more than 99% of people are using AI. Only 36% know that they're using AI. And so I'm pretty sure that AI is being used by every single person in this room, regardless of whether you know it or not, right? You just, like, if you don't think you're using AI, it's just because you don't know you're using AI. That's the only thing, right? And so, let's see if I can. The capabilities are getting better and better, accelerating rate. This is going to restructure our experiences in the organization, right? So it's going to change how we work with each other. I think the most exciting thing about this is it's going to change how we interact with machines. So our ability to connect with the machine, to get the information we want, to work with it, that is changing. And that is, I think that's fundamental and very exciting as well. We're using interfaces today that we will likely not use in 2030, right? So as part of the change of how we are using and connecting with machines, that's changing right now, and it's going to change even more with paradigms that probably haven't been created yet, haven't been invented yet, but they are coming and they need to come, right? I think it's also interesting that it's not just going to improve you, but it's going to affect your peers and the people around you. So they're going to get better at their jobs too, which in some cases is really good. But they're going to have new skills and new abilities that they didn't have before. They're going to have data that they didn't have access to, and that's going to make them better, right, as well. So it's not just you and your silo, but the people around you and, you know, even ancillary to you are going to also be improving dramatically. I have a short story here about my wife's a geneticist. So she works as a doctor in the hospital, and when she first started, it took 28 days to get a full human genome. I'm not talking about 23andMe type stuff. I mean a full, proper genome for a patient. And with 28 days, if a child comes into the NICU or PICU, honestly, 28 days is too long. The child will either be at home and well or not. And so when that got to 7 days, it was significant because, okay, now in 7 days, well, this might have an effect on the outcome of the child. So should we or should we not start getting full genome sequences on the kids that enter the NICU? And a week ago, maybe 2, it went down to 1 day. So GeneDx came out with a 1-day full genome. And so that has sparked an entirely different conversation, which is more a conversation of panic, because doctors don't know what to do with a full genome. They are not trained. There's just too much information and too much data for a doctor to properly make use of that. And so, should I get a full genome for every child that enters the PICU? I mean, that's a difficult question, because what do I do with that information? I'm not a geneticist, et cetera. And so doctors are training them. They're trying to get that up to speed. And that's the problem they're dealing with. But I think it's a problem that you're going to deal with as well. You're going to have more data coming at you faster, if not already, than you're going to be able to deal with. That's pretty much a certainty. And on the left here, it's showing that data is moving faster than Moore's law. So, said a different way, the hardware that you're using is probably not going to keep up with the data and how fast it's going to come at you. And on some level, that's my problem, but from the software perspective. But I think that's a problem for us as humans as well. On the right, AlphaFold, which I know we talked about quite a bit at this conference, this is the ability to predict protein folding structures. So even if we don't have the data, the actual data coming at you, we are going to have predictive data. So AI is going to be able to predict the data that you need, even if you don't have the actual data, right? And so that is going to reshape the way we think. Okay. Of course, the fuel and the work required to leverage this fuel are key areas of growth. Data is the new oil, has been around for a while, but we believe that structured data is the new gasoline. So this is an incredible advancement, but it's going to require us as an industry to use the knowledge that we have and to structure it properly so that we can make use of that data. Because data flying at you like a genome to a doctor who doesn't understand it is not really that useful. It's got to be structured, and what does this actually mean to me, right? How does this, somebody needs to interpret it and understand that data. And so if it's not structured in a way that I can understand it, the possibilities are endless, but it might also not help me at all, right, unless it's structured properly. And so that's another part of what we believe is really important here, is that if we don't structure this data properly, it will not, structure is like gasoline. It will really make the fire go. So a little bit of bad news. CMC is on the critical path, and we are ironically going the opposite direction. So EROM's law, which is more spelled backwards, is that as technology continues to get faster and faster and the costs continue to come down, the cost of CMC is going up and up. Our problems are becoming more complex, and they're getting harder, and I think we've seen a few different slides on that and people talking about it, but our complexity is increasing, and Moore's law says it should be going the other way, and we are following, unfortunately, EROM's law. And fixing that, I think, is potentially the most important thing that we are going to do in our lifetimes. So we've seen all this magic from the previous slides of all the ways in which we've got all this information and data and solutions and things that we're going to bring to market, and yet it's like we are the bottleneck on some level, and that's going to get worse unless we make it better. Right? So we have to solve that in order to bring this magic to market faster. On the right here, I just want to point out that today, we're mostly going after blockbuster therapies because of the EROM model cost, right? So there's all kinds of therapies we could be bringing to market that potentially aren't blockbusters, but we're not because of our costs, right? Because the costs are going up, not going down. So I think looking ahead, digital submissions are likely to be the norm. I know they aren't today, but the only way to facilitate efficient information exchange between sponsors, regulators, CDMOs is for everything to be digital. And so in the next 5 years, these data exchange paradigms, including structured data paradigms, I believe they're all going to come together. They will ultimately be corresponding with everybody digitally. And what seems like a digital dream today will be just how it's done tomorrow. So please welcome Dr. Joschka Boyle. He is the most likely person, he was the most likely person to submit a support ticket a few years ago. He is now the most likely to solve our hardest support tickets today. So thank you, Dr. Joschka Boyle.
Thank you. Thank you, Ryan. So that future looks really inspiring. So for me, the interesting part is now, how do we change that paradigm of doing CMC to bring down the costs in this sector, right? Okay, there's something wrong here. Okay, I'm still in the wrong slide. Okay, sorry for that. So I'm Joschka. I'm German, and we Germans don't easily get excited. But today I really am, because I get to speak about not only the future of QbDVision, but also the future of our entire industry. Right? So how do we bring the costs down? If we can change the way of working that we do it today, and we get that paradigm change going, right, we can really get there. And I've been working on this problem for the last 6 years. And first on the industry side, now on the software side. So I'm thrilled now to speak here for the first time as part of QbDVision and introduce you to our vision of the future. So how does digital CMC future look like, right? For us, it's an open ecosystem, right? We work together across departments, we manage products and processes, we connect to other systems, we find information easily. We can build apps on top of that. If we can enable that way of working, we can really get to that paradigm change. What's the first part of that future? For me, it's a digital data fabric. At heart, right, that is the backbone for your enterprise to be enabled. Right now, everyone in your enterprise can get information easily, find it throughout the entire product life cycle. You don't have to worry about connecting systems that are historically set up and different, right? You don't have to worry about the nomenclature that's being used, right, or the taxonomies that you have in place. Everything is connected. Everything is harmonized for you so that you don't have to worry about these different setups anymore. Suddenly, everything is centralized and digitally available and can be pulled together. Your digital CMC framework or mesh that you just created, where you can build tons of apps on top of that because all these information are there. So now you can think about so many use cases, right? We heard it yesterday from DataHow, AI-enabled modeling. Right? If you have the power of predictions at your fingertips, how cool is that, right? You're in control, but all the predictions are done for you. Amazing future. We think if we can use AI agents to pull information together from different systems, we can really perform predictive modeling, and we can take away this burden of data science today that they have to pull and deconstruct files, basically, like PDFs and Excel files, to get this information to even start predictive modeling, right? So everything is structured. There's no more looking for data. It's just the execution, right? And then it's not the burden of the scientists anymore to bring this together. Another big area, I think, that needs improvement is changes in our industry, right? If we can bring in AI and AI agents, why can't we not only change the way of how we do impact assessments for changes, but also how we implement changes quickly? Anthony and Mike yesterday, I think, don't know where they are here in the audience. I don't see anything. But they showed the journey of a specification that was changed in 23, if I was counting correctly, locations across different documents and systems. That's crazy. That's nothing we can continue doing in our industry, right? That's just taking away time that we don't have. And that's a huge burden for any large organization today. What if we only change in one location, and then we take AI agents on top of that propagate this change across all the systems that are connected, right? You're in the cockpit, in the driver's seat, making sure that the implementation of these changes is correct. You can focus on what matters and not transcription errors or whatever that is done usually, making sure that all these 23 changes have no data integrity issues, right? And that's efficient change management for your organization. The next big topic, right? We heard a couple of times from different angles in the last days, effortless tech transfer, right? So there's this bold statement here from PwC out there that AI can reduce tech transfer times by 60%. I want to challenge that. Can we do that even faster, right? How would that look like? I mean, tech transfers have many, many aspects, right? It's not all about just bringing information from A to B. Every company has done tech transfers, right? There's a long history of knowledge that we're not using. And we should start using that to bring down the assessment times and focus on the challenges and not on the discussions around stuff that we already know. And because we're changing teams, we just keep forgetting. We heard it yesterday from Virogen that this stuff is already happening. But then tech transfer has more challenges. Right now, you have to set up all your GXP systems on top of that, right? Now, this talk from Zither comes in quite nicely here. If everything is connected, right, and you can execute these changes faster because it's automated by the agents and harmonized by our data fabric and then controlled by you, you can decrease the turnaround times of your facilities dramatically. You can maybe also directly connect to MES and DCS systems of multi-product facilities that were used to use only paper-based batch records because the setup times were too long. That's real impact for your organization. But when is tech transfer really over? Some of you would say never, but I think after a comparability exercise, right? So when it comes to reporting, you can apply exactly the same principles that I was mentioning. Yeah, you can automate by agents. You can use the harmonized data fabric to pull together the information, and everything can be controlled by you. Now you can build apps on top of that to generate the reports that you really need, pulling together information from different software solutions. Okay, next big topic. Can we change the paradigm of how we interact with agencies today? I think when we go fully digital, do these constraints that we have today with all the filings in all the countries that drives everyone in regulatory insane still exist? Or can we really get to this one-click submission that everyone is dreaming of? I heard this phrase here a couple of times the last days. Let's imagine that the agencies have full access to all your filed ranges that you would normally put into a PDF file, right? Full traceability back to the experiments where these ranges come from, or the data or the models that we use, these established models, right? Everything justified and risk assessed. Do we still need to file? Or is that going to be a continuous exchange with the agencies instead? That's, for me, a very interesting idea. What we will get for sure is a reduction in complexity. Right? If they get access to the data immediately, right, we will get broader acceptance of a single filing. And I think that's the complexity reduction that we're all looking for, and not having to file in all the countries and that get all the changes over the years in there that make it almost impossible to manage. So any complexity that's left for you there, we also want to solve that, right? So let's say you have 20 different flavors of your product. So you still have a lot of different processes across your facilities going on. You also want to be able to understand what was filed where and what material I can use in what country easily, right? With all the data structured around your process, that should be easily possible for you too. So now we have brought everything together, right? I have all my knowledge at my fingertips. I have the process, the actuals from other systems, changes, transfers, submissions, risk assessed, justified, and structured. Now imagine what your organization can do with that. That's really data turned into knowledge. We had that theme a couple of times, right? But that's now power at your fingertips. And now imagine we walk into an audit, right? You have an AI layer on top of that you can ask anything. You get real-time answers from that AI. You don't need a war office in the back with lots of SMEs that are just sitting there digging for PDFs because the regulator wants to see it immediately, right? You have it all there. You're always ready for an audit, right? How cool is that? So what are the pillars that we actually need to install to realize that future? We think the first thing we need is a harmonizing connection layer for all your data and the systems. If we understand the workflows of data that flows through your systems and we can digitize it, we can really get to that next level where we can install an AI layer interconnected and seamlessly across all your systems. The second is basically, if you want to build knowledge, you want to leverage your prior knowledge too. We heard it during Artemis on Tuesday especially, that using prior knowledge remains an issue in our industry. We don't use what we already know. And we can't continue to do that, especially in the tech context of tech transfers, right? When this all becomes available for you, how powerful can you really be? We also need that reliable CMC data foundation, right, to trust our AI layer on in the future. So on Tuesday and also on Wednesday, we heard from Yash that a good reliable data set in the end created or enabled AlphaFold, right? If we can be that structured, clean, reliable data source that enables digital CMC, we can get exactly to that vision, right? We can be that trustworthy source to train our AIs. We also want to have a system with excellent user experience. When you want to use AI to the full power, you're going to end up with a very complex system. There's so much power at your fingertips, right, that it's with AI and knowledge omnipresent that you have to keep it clear, simple, and easy to interact, understand, and control. We want to focus on simplifying this interaction for you so that you can keep track of all the changes coming with an AI-enabled future. But you need the foundation first, right? In the end, knowledge management systems that manage complexity with a kiss, so keep it simple and stupid, are key, right? Apart from AI, let's keep AI apart for a second, right? You want to keep your deterministic system to control your processes, work together across departments, manage product and processes, find information easily. We believe that, especially this first layer of foundation for knowledge management and structured data is the key here. If we structure more and more data, we can enable more and more use cases on top of that. So let's look at the near-term goals for us to unlock this future. We want to work on looking across processes, easy change implementation, platform recipes, analytical methods, and then supercharging everything with workflows with AI. So looking across processes, right here, I was depicting earlier that you want to be able to easily look across 20 different processes that you have across your sites and countries. This is exactly what we want to give you with this feature here, where you can first compare on a very high level all your processes and then dive into detail for a large number of processes, maintain them across sites, also CDMOs, and then go down to the record level, see similarities or differences of these processes, and eventually apply changes if you need to. When it comes to changes, of course, it's also important to understand the consequences of these changes, right? You want to also be able to change in one location, propagate this change everywhere, but then changes never come alone, right? So you also want to be able to effectively bundle these changes, then route them to an efficient approval workflow with a clear focus on seeing the changes and not reviewing entire documents that we do today every day, right? You also want to have a good overview of your review and approval progress so that you can keep track once everything is approved, that it makes it automatically into all your systems connected and the documents that are updated. This way you will have a dramatic decrease in the actions that are normally part of change management processes today that keep everyone busy. Most changes, at least I heard it, are of analytical nature. We see a huge interest in our systems that we can also manage analytical methods in our software. So we want to expand our process model to also feature analytical methods as a module, and then allow you to design, validate, and lifecycle manage these analytical methods similar to processes. This will enable you to be ready for ICH Q14, USP 122021, right, where full QED might be required for some methods, and you can decide to go for that route, for example, for a potency assay here, or you stick with a simple procedure determination or definition for methods that don't. We also want to enable platform knowledge for you, so reusable modular process definitions in the end. If you start managing your processes as platforms, for example, in this case here, antibodies and viral vectors, and then at the same time on the unit operation level, let's say you have here 1,000 and 2,000 liter bioreactor, you really can start maintaining platforms and grow your knowledge per modality. You can leverage transfer knowledge even across modalities. You can easily perform facility fit, transfers, scale-ups and scale-downs, fully integrated knowledge through all your sites and modalities. That's what we're looking for. Okay, now we're going to supercharge everything with AI, right? We have talked about bringing prior knowledge in. I think that's going to be key, using LLMs to avoid manual data entry into our system. So we can bring productivity in our systems up, improve the onboarding experience for new sites or new customers coming in, less setup, better outcome. Now you can train specific AI models on top of that, right, that automate data entry or a generation of reports using structured data that was turned into knowledge. We heard yesterday as well a nice example where here sections for a dossier were created, automated with an AI. So if we have structured data available, we can do that even better. And with that, I think it was hopefully clear that this future is not that far out, right? That a lot of this stuff is already happening. We have so many presenters here from the last 2 days that already work on this, making this come true. And we would like to invite all of you to join us to make this reality come true. Thank you.
Thank you, Yashka. As you can see, our team is thinking. They're thinking big. They're dreaming big. We started the company to do that. And when we started, we put sort of 4 strategic pillars in place, which we have been consistent for us for the 7.5 years that we've been in business now. They are corporate culture. We always start with corporate culture, building and growing a phenomenal team of people. I think you've all seen that over the past 3-4 days. I want to give a huge shout out to our marketing team, led by Eric Skivington. They put on a show that if you actually knew how few people we have on that team right now, you would marvel at what they've done. And I think there's 4 or 5 or 6 toddlers across that marketing team, so they have to take care of those little ones too as they pull off these Herculean efforts. So great job, everybody. But we do believe in corporate culture. Our teams are what make this happen. We are built around the concept of empowered small teams. Again, going back to the marketing team, we've said this is what we want. Now go do it, and they go do it, and we don't get in their way, right? So that's the beauty of how we operate. We're going to continue to operate that way. It's not easy to do that as your company grows. processes start to come in and they start to stifle some of that, right? We have to make sure that we don't let that happen too much. Another one of our strategic pillars is managed growth. So as much as startups love to talk about the hockey stick, when you actually get into that, the handle part of that stick is problematic, right? That's when the wheels start to come off the train and corporate culture starts to get sacrificed, and you start to let go of all the principles that actually helped you get there to begin with. And so we think about it from a managed growth perspective. Really, the way companies operate best is a stair-step approach, right? You're kind of humming along, and then you get your bump, right? And then you kind of consolidate, and you get ready for the next level, and you go up again. And that's really how we think about this, because this gives us the time to bring all of the functions together and make sure that we're still operating properly as a company as we move to the next level. And so that's still what we're going to, that's a huge part of what we do. We don't want to ever get to a place where the current experience that we have with our customers and that they have with us changes in a detrimental way, right? We are highly collaborative. We're going to continue to be highly collaborative. So much of what you see in our platform today is a result of the feedback we've gotten from our customers and collaborators, right? There hasn't been a platform like this that has existed in the past, and so we didn't have a reference point when we started building, right? This is not another QMS, it's not another ELN, so we don't have a Benchlink to compare against or a Viva to compare against, right? Or other platforms that are out there. So we needed to put something forth and then go through that iteration process with the industry to get to where we are today, right? And that's going to have to continue because there's a lot of things we want to do. There's a lot of things we want to connect within the ecosystem, and that's going to take all of us working together to figure out how best to do that. We alone cannot figure that out. But that being said, we are going to push the industry, and that's our market leadership strategic pillar, right? I was talking with with Doug Hurley in the group therapy session after his talk, and he was giving examples of how SpaceX would say they want to do X, and they were really pushing the boundary. And the first response from the regulators was absolutely not. We will never let you do that, right? And the example he gave was fueling a rocket while the astronauts are on board. That's never been done before, right? They fuel the rocket and they let it get settled, and then they bring the astronauts on board. But there's a whole host of performance compromises that performance reductions that happen as a result of that. If you can have the astronauts on board, put the fuel on in 30 minutes and go, there's a huge performance improvement by doing that, right? But the regulator's like, absolutely not. So what did SpaceX do? They didn't take no for an answer. They just went back and they got all the data to prove to the regulators that it's okay to do this. And so now they launch, they have the astronauts on board, they fuel, and then they launch, right? And so I think this is going to be something that we're going to continue to do. For example, this whole discussion around AI, I think we have a responsibility to go to the agency and say, no, this is what we want to do. And they're going to say, absolutely not, right? And then we're going to go and say, okay, let's get all the data, right? And prove to them, for example, that AI has a much lower error rate than humans do. Why are humans the gold standard, right? We're not actually very good at the mechanistic, stuff that, the repeatable stuff that has to be done. We're really bad at that, actually. Machines are great at it, right? So why is that the way everybody still thinks, right? So it's incumbent upon us that if we really want to get these efficiencies going, we have to bring that leadership and push the agency along, right, to get this done. And finally, but not least, is product excellence. So, we always want to deliver the best possible, highest quality product. And one of the ways that we need to do that, and this is another way we're going to challenge the industry, is to say, and challenge you all as our customers and collaborators, is why do we operate on this 3 times a year release schedule for validated releases? Does that make any sense to anybody in today's world and with the technology that we have today? Right? And actually what that does is it lowers the quality of the software. If you have to wait 3 months to get the bugs fixed that people have already recognized are there, that's actually not good quality software, right? So we should be able to get to a place where we can release a validated release at least once a week, maybe once a day, and you should be able to accept it and move on, right? And so that's the area that we're going to challenge over the next year or two to get people on board with that thought process. Because that is a complete waste of time to go through that. Everybody knows it, but nobody wants to figure out how to fix it. So, so these are the things that we're going to push. We're going to continue to build the digital CMC community. I think, you're seeing that now with Project Artemis starting. This is an idea we started with right around the time of the last summit, which was November 2023. And, here we are today moving this forward. And I think this is something that we're going to continue to do as an organization is to set a goal and get everybody moving forward. And once that momentum is there, then we can just be a part of it and the industry can carry that momentum forward. So this is who we are as QbDVision. We are very excited to continue to work with you, to continue to grow our relationships with all of you. We're actually very excited to continue to lead this community building. And over time, I think you'll start to see us sort of seed that to new organizations that can carry it forward with that being their focus. Project Artemis, we're helping launch it, but a year from now, it'll be its own organization, hopefully, right? And it will have its own funding and its own governance structure, and we'll just be another member. But our goal was to get it started today, and then have it be a forum for all of us who didn't have a place before, right? I mean, we started this summit because we'd go to bio-IT and you had a lot of IT people there, and you'd go to bioprocess conferences and you had a lot of scientists trying to figure out how to do process intensification and get better yield, right? But nobody was having the cross-pollination conversations, right? So the intent of this summit was to bring together both of those thought processes in one place, and we're going to continue to do that, and we're going to continue to push the industry, and we want your pushback where you want to push back, because that debate is really where the magic happens, right? So thank you all for coming. It's been a phenomenal show. I hope you all have felt that way as well. We really enjoyed having you here. Really enjoyed all the presentations, the conversations. Please do give us your feedback via the barcode that's there. We're a continuous improvement company, so we're always looking for feedback to improve this. And we hope to see you all next year at this event, and bring more of your colleagues. And now we'll let you go have some lunch, and don't forget the Innovation Challenge. So for those of you who are sticking around, we're going to have some fun this afternoon, and safe travels to all of you, and hopefully we'll see you next year, if not before. Thank you.